3, 2, 3, 2. Check sound, speed. Speed.
Stop.
Are we rolling?
Stop counting. Stop counting down. You're on the air. Act like you've done this before.
No, just like Jose Bautista.
I don't know how to get rid of that. There, I'm ready.
Okay, sound, speed, rolling. 3, 2.
Sibilance, check. Sibilance. Remember the Tom Hanks sound check guy on Saturday Night Live? Sibilance.
I think we've started every single podcast with the same.
Probably. That's just
using.
Are we on? Are we on yet?
Is my mic? Are we hot? Okay.
Isn't that Daniel Murphy again?
Okay, no one who's listening to the audio.
Another home run.
Did he? No one who's listening to the audio knows what you're talking about, though. Okay, here we are.
They can't see me pointing at my TV.
For the listener, Andy is pointing at his TV, which I can't even see because it's off screen. And he's apparently pointing.
I would get sued by TBS and Major League Baseball for unauthorized retransmission or rebroadcast. How come they don't have to read that on the air anymore? Remember, that was like a big deal every broadcast. So tonight, the broadcast is brought to us by the Milwaukee Brewing Company. This is Polish Moon. It's a milk stout. It's very good. And I'm already pretty well drunk, so this could really be a mess.
I'm drinking.
Let's drink a whole thing. You're drinking vodka, right?
I'm drinking Kirkland vodka and Kirkland sparkling water.
You're screwed. We're not making it through this whole thing.
We should introduce the podcast because we never do that. Welcome to the what are we? Are we still the other 15%?
No, you didn't like. I renamed it the Discipio Podcast, and you had a problem with that.
I didn't have a problem with that.
Well, I just stopped calling it anything.
Okay, cool. Welcome to the Cubs NLCS. How weird does that sound?
Brought to you by Fan Kings and Draft Duel or whatever it is, but I'm still waiting for the check. They sponsor everything.
No,
why don't they sponsor us?
That's a good. Opening story. I was just actually with a buddy of mine, and I haven't read the Grantland article yet because it's Grantland and I don't read that site, but I bookmarked it for later reading. A little Beasley. I bookmarked it for later reading.
It's horribly depressing.
Apparently, there are some shady happenings shockingly, with FanDuels and DraftKings. And my buddy pointed out, he's like, he's a super sharp guy. He's always sort of thinking, he's very sharp. And he goes, that could be, it could be that they're doing something under the board. He's like, but you can make so much more money by running those sites legitimately. Why would they be? And he's like, I think it's a smear. I think it's a smear campaign by the NFL because they're going to do their own thing.
That's possible.
Didn't they say that's a way more reasonable explanation than they're actually doing something under the board, because they would make a fortune on idiots by paying out not that much, by paying out just a fraction of what they're making. My brother-in-law, who's a pretty sharp guy, he actually signed up for one of the two, and he made like $50 after putting in 10 or whatever, and thinks he's gonna retire at 50.
Didn't they say that the average person wins less than $20, and they don't pay out until you get to like 30. So they basically you win $20, but then you have to keep playing because they're not going to pay out, and then you end up losing it, and they end up with all your money. So technically you won, but you never actually win. A few people win a shitload of money, but they don't care.
Right.
I mean, somebody's got to win so they can put them on the commercial. Otherwise, nobody would play.
And they
I want that to be me.
How much are the people that are winning $20 putting in? Is the question.
Yeah. Well, it's like the time that my college girlfriend and I went to the boat in Aurora, and she had $60 to spend. She lost it within 20 minutes. So then I was up, and I gave her some money, and she gambled that the rest of the night. And she came home, and somebody said, "How'd we do?" And she's like, "I won $10." I'm like, "You didn't win $10. You lost $60 of your money, and you lost like $100 of mine. And you have a $10 bill in your pocket, but you lost $150. So that's the kind of mentality that they're going for.
That seems pretty reasonable that you only had to pay $60 to get a college girl to come to the boats with you.
Well, it was NIU. I was surprised they had to spend that much.
Okay, welcome to the DraftKings FanDuel's Fantasy Football Podcast. Welcome to the National League Championship Series, Chicago Cubs, for the first time.
The Cubs are the only team in the NLCS right now.
You're right.
I think it should stay that way.
I like the fact that the Cardinals are the only team that were not able to take a DS to Game 5. That's very satisfying.
I don't know if you read the research Ed Hardig and I did, but think about this. The Cubs have never lost a postseason series against the St. Louis Cardinals. And the Cardinals have still never won a postseason series against the Cubs. How about that?
Very true. How about this statistic that got tweeted out today? The last 3 teams that have beaten the Cardinals in the postseason have all won the World Series. And anyone who's a rabid listener to the whatever the hell this podcast is called is very aware that last week or whenever we did the DS preview, we both predicted the Cubs getting past the Cardinals and winning the World Series. Well, I did.
How about this? I believe we picked the Cubs in 4. We then picked the Blue Jays and the Royals, and that looked like that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah,
and then that happened. And I honestly don't remember. I think I may have picked the Dodgers. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter.
I think I picked the Dodgers too, but whatever. There's no recorded evidence of it.
It just shows what big brains we have.
Well, if you recall, did I brag about this? Oh, no, I didn't because it was DS preview. I tweeted at The World, or no, I guess I tweeted at Sylvie that Soler was going to go off right before when he started Game 2. I said Soler was going to go off, and he reached base 9 straight times. 9 of 11 times in the Cardinals
series. Did he really
series.
go off? I mean, big deal. Much of those were walks. Those aren't even hits. Like Dusty would say, he was just clogging a base most of the time. I loved it when he finally made an out. TBS showed his batting average. It was 800.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So you were at Game 4.
Yes, and do you know something completely historical happened during that series? Yesterday,
Chip Carey lost his virginity?
Yesterday.
To a woman. He's lost it to a man many times.
Both you and I both wrote something on our blogs. It was a historical moment. Yeah. So no, it was. I had never been to a postseason game at Wrigley Field. 2003, when I was in law school, I drove through the night to Atlanta to see Game 2, to see Hampton load the bases in the first inning and wriggle off the hook somehow. Yeah. Watch the only game they lost in Atlanta, of course, I was at. And I almost got in a fight with like a 12-year-old in front of me that was very, very lippy. And because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get tickets at Wrigley, and I'd see all these people.
In your defense, she looked way older than 12.
Right? Yeah. So this was my first postseason experience at Wrigley Field. It was. I'm sure everyone that has the nerdiness for the Cubs to listen to this podcast has already seen the video of the guy a mile from Wrigley Field that recorded the last out and recorded everyone singing "Go Cubs Go" a mile away. You can hear it clear as day. I've never experienced a sports moment like that. It was
okay. Well, since you were there, what was the mood? Because we could kind of tell at home after 4 pitches into the game when Stephen Piscotty, whatever his name is, hit the home run. So what was it like in the stadium right then?
Okay,
couldn't have been good.
Now I wasn't there in 2003. People tensed up, and the guy I was with goes, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And of course, I'm a Hamill hater, so I immediately was frustrated. And if you're keeping score, I called the Schwarber home run in Pittsburgh 2 pitches before it happened. I called Soler going off when Hamill stepped to the plate because we were very bitter already by the time Hamill stepped to the plate with 2 outs and 2 on. I turned to him and I go, well, at least Hamill can hit a little. Hamill promptly lines the first pitch he sees in the center to start that big inning. It was, I suspect the atmosphere was better than it was in 03 because I think people are starting to get deconditioned from, here we go again. And there was a brief, I definitely felt it myself, and that's what I had posted in my blog. I felt it myself. I felt that like, oh God, they're going to do this to us again, and we're going to lose this game, and then we're going to go back to St. Louis, and they're going to beat us 11-0, and it's going to be, and then Sox fans are going to flood my fucking Facebook page and be obnoxious and say that we're same old Cubs, because this is not the same old Cubs team, and that was sort of the tone of your article as well. But there was a brief moment, I think, that everybody allowed themselves. All right, I'll go off on a tangent here. Do you remember, you watched Lost, right?
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite moments in Lost is when Matthew Fox's character, Jack Shepherd, his first episode, he's the pilot, he's getting Kate Evangeline Lilly to stitch him up. And she's like, I can't do this. And he tells a story. He's like, the first time I was in surgery, I cut a girl's like neural sac or whatever the hell, he cut her spinal cord basically open. And he's like, and this unabashed terror that sort of washed over me. He's like, I counted to 5. He's like, I let myself have it. I counted to 5, and then I just stitched her back up, and everything was fine. And I feel like the crowd felt that way. It's like we all had like our panic moment where we all looked at each other. And we're like, God damn it, we're 4 pitches in, and we're already down 2-0. Everyone looked at each other. We remembered what's been going on this whole season. We all kind of took a breath, and I think that was the only panic that happened in that park. There was no panic from the Cubs whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Was what was it like after Piscotty hit the home run, but then what was it like after Javi hit his?
Bedlam. It was bedlam. It was almost as loud as the final out. And before I forget, because you've been drinking and I'm drinking vodka, Pat Hughes is a goddamn national treasure, and we all know that. If you haven't heard his call of the final out, I don't think it was pre-written. I don't think he pre-thought about what he was going to say. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. I mean, it's poetry. He's poetic, and I hope
he gives the whole. When they got to 2 strikes, and he says, "I wish you could all be here with us right here, right now." I mean, here's a guy who the tying runs on. If you listen to the one that's true poetry to me, if you listen to the Cardinal call, and they have the MLB when you do the cut or whatever they call that thing, you listen. Pat does his, then Brian Anderson does his, then they play the Cardinal one, where Rooney gets all excited and says, "Well, Piscotty hit a home run in the 9th inning yesterday," and then Piscotty strikes out, and Mike Shannon goes into a horrible but very, very enjoyable depression. Yep. There they are, celebrating on the field. They're jumping up and down on each other.
Yep.
We'll be right back. It's like, fuck you. Just shove it up your ass, you goddamn drunk driver enabling cocksucker.
It's terrific. It is terrific. I mean, it's a shame that the soundtrack of the postseason, and I love MLB.com. The site is a mess. Like, it sucks. The blackout restrictions are still antiquated and stupid. But the video cuts that MLB.com does, I mean, I probably spent, after having sat through that game because I wasn't hearing anything, I think I watched everything that I possibly could from the game on MLB.com just to relive it and just to hear how it's, because I knew how it sounded to me. It was insanity. It was the loudest I've ever heard anything. To hear how it sounded, because my only barometer is watching games on TV, like games of this magnitude on TV, and to hear it, the reaction on TV was just, we've been waiting for a long time for this.
So in Wrigley, which was louder? When Rizzo hit the home run in the 6th to give him the lead back, or when Schwarber hit the fucking ball to the moon that somehow bounced off the moon and landed on top of the scoreboard?
That's a really good question. I think it was definitely it didn't have a decibel meter, but I just anecdotally, I think it was louder for Rizzo by virtue of the fact that no one could believe that Schwarber hit that ball. There was this eruption, and then everyone was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, I think it was like Eckersley's reaction. What was Eckersley's
He goes, "What in the world?"
Yeah, what in the world? Like that was. It was like watching an alien land in center field and just walk out. Like that was, everyone was like, oh, it was surreal. It was surreal. I woke up the next morning and I like did like a check of like, I was like, did that happen, right? Like that they did it. They took 3 in a row from the best team in baseball.
When you watch the replay, the Rizzo one obviously is it was the most important hit of the entire series. You know, given the lead back, they never lost it. They won the series. Warber hits his, he gets between second and third base. It gets so loud and people are jumping up and down. So the camera actually starts to bounce. All the TBS cameras are bouncing.
Oh God.
And so it just gives you an idea of how ridiculous, how up for grabs Wrigley was. And then it does the same thing when Hector strikes out Piscotty to end the game. The center field camera is just all over the place because the place is just up for grabs.
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So
and watching our good friend Cap and Todd Hollinsworth on the roof of, I don't know where they were, the Cubby Bear or somewhere, for the post game, I kept getting frustrated that they weren't going into the clubhouse for the post game. But then we figured out why. The clubhouse is too small for them to actually celebrate in for this kind of celebration. So they knew, they had already told Comcast that the pick out on the field to actually do the celebration, because they literally can't pop champagne corks in that little bitty clubhouse because the ceiling is like 6.5 feet high.
Let me tell you something. It's not quite that small, because I got a text from a buddy of mine that I went to high school with. I'm going to redact the name. He sent me a picture of inside clearly taken on a cell phone, of the Wrigley, the clubhouse celebration. The text was, my buddy blank was standing by a door when all of the media came up. He pretended he was talking to Jim Rose and got into the locker room for 45 minutes. He drank champagne and partied with all of them until security got wise and had him tossed. Unreal. Oh, and so I guess I could screen share this for the people that are actually watching this, but or maybe I shouldn't. I don't know what pictures are on my thing.
I'll try. It won't be the worst thing we've ever done.
I have a good I have a picture of yeah, I can just do this here. I got very, very close to Todd Ricketts. And it's because the guy I was watching the game with, and I had
was his super hot French wife there? Because I get close to her. No.
And I didn't see where Eddie Vedder was, although he was obviously down there as well. But
well, he's very tiny. He's hard to see. He's tiny.
He is real small. But we got very close to. I mean, we nobody left for about the first 15, 20 minutes. When we got to the people, some people stuck around just to enjoy the celebration. And you know, we by that time it cleared out enough where we were able to get right up against the brick. So, here, I'll share this in 1 second. So we got to high five Todd, which is right. Am I sharing? Here we go. Okay.
There. No, that's me. Hi.
Did it work?
Oh yeah, there it is.
There he is. So we were right up there, enjoying ourselves with Todd. So
he's with those specs.
Okay.
Has he got Madden's old glasses?
Now let me ask you this.
Now Joe wears mine now. He wears these with the yeah, look at that. Who knew I was so hip?
You're so hip.
Yeah, I'm the best.
These black shirts, my mom was complaining about them. She's like, why do they put on black shirts? This has got to be an MLB thing, right? Because the Royals also, okay, so that's the Royals also.
And the Blue Jays had them on last night, too.
That's what I thought. Okay. Okay, so that was mine.
I went to the Dick's here today, and they don't have them yet. I was going to buy one.
Very good. Good story.
Yeah.
That reminds
more of an
me,
anecdote than a story.
That reminds me of all the callers to the score. Yeah, I went over to Dick's to try and buy a Cub jersey. They're all sold out.
The only one I could get is I got a Jonathan Herrera. That was the only one I could get. Oh, Johnny Buckets might very well be on the NLCS roster because Addison is out.
That's true. Jonathan Herrera will be the type of guy. He will be the Orlando Cabrera of this team.
The only time, well, I had a strange phenomenon in the last 2 games. About the 6th inning, I was not breathing. I'm like, holy shit, how can there still be this much time left? These many outs left to get. But when
wait, in the 6th they were still tied, right?
Yeah, well, both games, 3 and 4, I was like, oh god, it's only the 6th.
Yeah. 3 was nerve-wracking.
I just knew Tony Cruz was going to get that goddamn hit, because that's the kind of shit that happens in the playoffs. It's just the worst player in the league, maybe. And he swings late, and he hits the thing down the right field line, and it ties the game.
Except maybe David Ross.
Well, David Ross, who...
I love you, David Ross, if you're listening.
Hit the home run that won the World Series for the 2013 Red Sox.
Great.
He's going to come up huge in this series against whoever.
Wait, is that your prediction? Because my Soler prediction came up. I'm not going to say anything until the series starts, but I'm going to... Hey, lucky Cubs, just tweet your reactions at me, and I will bless one of you with my prognostication powers to go off in the next series. Sorry, go ahead. Tony Cruz got that hit.
No, it just pissed me off because I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
That's the kind of shit that happens in the playoffs. Frickin' Sal Butera, or whatever his name is, for the Royals, and Tony Cruz. The Cubs, because the Cubs don't have a shitty player other than David Ross, that can't happen for us.
Jason
we have
Hamill.
Good players come through.
The Cubs do have a shitty player. That's why it happened. Jason Hamill is a shitty player, and he's still a shitty player. And I tweeted out before the game that this is why I accidentally called Ivy Drip an idiot, because I thought he was Chuck. I tweeted out that, and I apologize. I tweeted out that if Hamill had the start in Game 4 that Arrieta had in Game 3, I would be through the roof, happy with that. And he said something like, "Yo, you should be running for the hills." I thought it was Chuck, our beloved idiot friend Chuck. So I went off on him. It's funny. It's funny how quickly we came to expect so much from Arrieta and it wasn't a good start, but it wasn't a bad start, and everyone's like disastrous and throwing around words like that, and it's like, all right, let's calm down a little bit.
When you figure that he pitched on a night when the wind was blowing out to right field like 30 miles an hour, and he struck out 9, he made it into the 6th, he left with the lead, and of all four series we're playing that day, he had the longest start of anybody of any of those 8 starters that day.
And you could tell. You could even tell in the first inning that he did not have his command. So,
Joe as much as said that when they interviewed him, which was he's not finishing his pitches, but he's somehow battling through it.
Exactly. He just willed his way through whatever 5 1/3, whatever it was. This feels like one of those teams. It would have been nice if Kansas City and Toronto had both lost because, oh, wait a minute. I didn't even ask you. How do you feel about your favorite player getting bounced from the playoffs?
Well, I mean, how about the fact that he hit that home run and he hit it in the third? I can't do the math. He hit it in the 3rd inning, and the Astros didn't get another runner in the entire game.
Yeah.
Cueto retired the last 19 guys. The only guy who'd ever retired the final 19 batters of a playoff game was Don Larson when he threw his perfect game.
Oh, God.
So if it wasn't for Louis, they'd have gotten shut out. Yeah, it's horrible that he's not around. That was going to be destiny. It was going to be the Cubs Astros with Louis turning heel in Game 7 and intentionally throwing the ball away to let the Cubs win the World Series.
He just comes out with a folding chair and just hits Keuchel in the back.
The ball gets hit to Carlos Correa, and he goes to make a throw, and Louis hits him with the chair, and the ball goes flying into left field, and Schwarber just runs around the bases in the Cubs.
Okay, that's a great segue. Can we talk about the 7th inning of yesterday's Toronto game?
I was an official scorer for a professional baseball team.
Yeah, you bring it up all the time.
And watching that happen, thought, oh, that's a dead ball. And it's not. and Dale Scott screwed it up. But I think the person who doesn't get enough credit is, however you say his name, Rougned Odor, for just saying, fuck it, I'm going to score.
Yeah, why
because if he doesn't score, then they have to just put him back at third base.
Right.
But then you get the Cub 2008, every infielder gets to make an error thing. And that was worse.
It was only one guy.
Those were, and it was mostly Elvis. He made most of the errors. Yeah, it was amazing. And then I can't believe in 2015 that Jose, I'm going to say it like the Blue Jays announcers say it, Jose Bautista gets shit for that bat flip. Yeah. The guy just hit a home. I mean, he hit the home run. He knew the game was over. It's the seventh inning, but he just won the game. If I was him, I would have like taken my pants off and had sex with the bat at home plate, and still expected that everyone was just going to cheer me. I mean, he did a badass thing. He gets to do the badass bat flip. I mean, I don't know how anybody can actually be mad at him.
Also, that was a fucking badass bat flip. Like, that was like a scary, intimidating bat flip. You're right. It was the second biggest home run, obviously, other than Carter, in franchise history, probably. So, yeah. I mean, like, it was aggressive, and Cap is through the roof about it. But you know what? Like you just said, everyone else postures in every other major league sport, and for whatever reason, the MLB has declared that we can't have fun. And like, it's goddamn. Can you imagine the feeling? And that was just, I mean, it wasn't a Schwarber home run, but it was a bomb. And like, it was one of those like moments. It was one of those moments that's going to be replayed from this season forever and ever. So, good on you, Jose Bautista.
I think despite the fact that he's 22, I think Kyle has the coolest bat flips in baseball now. He hits it, he just stands there for a second, and then he just kind of, it's like the old Todd Walker disgusted bat flip, except he didn't make an out. He just kind of like, he's almost like, all right, I'm just going to fucking leave the bat here. I'll be back in a second to get it.
It is the bat flip equivalent of a mic drop. He literally lays the bat. It's fucking badass. He like, that's legitimately what I honestly want him in the World Series to hit one, hold it out, and just fucking mic drop it. Because like, oh my God, that kid. Well, whatever. Every superlative about him has already been said, so I'm not even going to bother trying. But they're in the NLCS for the first time in a long time.
They had a workout day today, and they were taking it pretty seriously. Did you see the footage of Rizzo practicing his bat flips in the cage? They're not even pitching to him, and he's taking swings and throwing the bat up into the top of the batting. He's just bouncing the bat off the inside of the batting cage. He did it over and over again.
Please do not hurt yourself doing that. So yes, Addison's not going to play in the NLCS. Javi Baez presumably will get all the starts at shortstop. Yes,
they said. Yes, they said they would have Starlin work out at shortstop the next couple of days.
Sure,
but he would only be used there in an emergency.
Yeah,
I mean, he'll be the backup shortstop now, in case they have to take Javi out for any reason. Starlin will have to go to short, and then I suppose Mr. Peepers will come in to play second base. But and I forget which Twitter follower first posted that, but it's perfect. I mean, if LaStella's walk on, or his bat flip should be that he grabs another ball from the ump and he eats it at home plate. Just of course, he never hits a home run, so we never have to see it.
That's all right.
Yeah, I'm cool with Javi playing for a week. I think that'll be fine.
Are you kidding? Like, the storyline, if he is at anywhere near as heroic as he was in Game 4, that storyline is terrific. Javi's storyline is amazing.
I think he hit 800 in the NLDS too. I think it was 4 for 5. Yeah. So it's not like he just hit the home run.
Oh yeah.
And then I don't know. The one time that I really lost my shit during the entire series was his error in Game 3.
Oh boy.
Because it was just so. I mean, it was completely nonchalant. I honestly think he was trying to convince himself this is not a big deal.
Right.
I'm just going to flip this over there. And I just fucking lost it. I was yelling and screaming, and the poor dog was hiding. And And because we know he might be their best all-around defensive player.
Yeah, probably.
So he's probably not quite as good a defensive shortstop as Addison is. But he's really good. I mean, they won't lose much defensively. And as much as he strikes out, he's more of an offensive threat than Addison is. So they're going to be fine.
Totally. I think I lost it a little bit with Bryant's error. That was such
the one when Grimm was pitching?
Yep. So that was such a crucial. It was such a panic moment. It was so crucial. Yeah. But I think I've been relatively cool. I even was trying to calm down the guy I was with on Tuesday night when, again, we were 4 pitches in. I'm like, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. This team's going to be okay. And sure enough.
I do think it's funny that people assume that because of stuff I've written this year that I'm like Mr. Cool. I understand. Oh no, this is all going to be fine. If they were in this basement with me any of the last 2 weeks, I'm a fucking basket case just like everybody else.
Yeah. Eli,
the difference is I worried that they might get beat, but I'm no longer worried that something embarrassingly catastrophic is going to happen. I mean, I just know that any baseball team can lose any game, so I get worried about that. But I'm not worried that there's going to be some horribly embarrassing like we've had, the last couple of playoff appearances. But it doesn't mean I sit here like, oh, I know they're going to win this because they're the team of destiny. I have no fucking idea.
You know what cooled me down a little bit is knowing that even if something embarrassing or something disastrous happens, they're not a one and done team. They're not like this is not going to be their only shot at this. And I know I get it. The Nationals, everyone always points to that the horror story. They're like, well, they thought that they were going to be a down, but they weren't built like the Cubs have been built. And they don't have the players that the Cubs have. They have 2 super terrific players and one that can't stay healthy. And I just don't think that the Cubs are not going to be that we're going to be back to being a 69 win team next year. Yeah.
I mean, I do not want them to lose to the Dodgers or the Mets or the Royals or the Blue Jays. But for me at least, there was a heightened sense of you cannot fucking lose to the Cardinals in the playoffs. You just can't.
I would have rather they lost. I would have rather they lost the wild card game. Yeah, without a doubt. And that's stupid to say.
I felt the same way. Once you win a wild card, you have to beat the Cardinals because you have to do it for America. You have to do it. You have to do it for the free world. They need to be stopped. It's up to you. The Giants are not around to help us anymore. It's up to you. You have to do it. And they did it.
Did you see the Reddit post by some fucking Cardinals fan that said the Cardinals are the real world champions?
Yeah, I did see that.
Because they're the only team who won 100 games in the toughest division in Major League Baseball history. Yet both the Cubs and Cardinals now both have won 101 games this season.
That's what I'm going to say. That undercuts his argument in that right now they have the same number of wins.
And the fact that the Cubs had to win their last 4 against the 2 teams ahead of them in the toughest division in baseball ever. So that just shows that the delusional fucking. Well, let's not even give them any airtime. Fuck the Cardinals.
I don't remember who said it. It might have been the great. I say that with all the disdain possible. The great Buster Olney, who said that if this was the NCAA tournament, the Cubs have the equivalent of they've beaten Kentucky and Duke in the first 2 rounds. Because the 3 best teams in baseball were the Cardinals, the Pirates, and the Cubs, and now it's just the Cubs. They're the only ones that are left.
And that's the thing. It's not like they're Baylor. I don't really know NCAA. They're like UConn. UConn's still pretty good, right? I don't know the NCAA that well. But it's not like exactly. Sure, they have an underdog in their 2 first games just by virtue of the regular season. And not everyone forgets, but what the national media doesn't want to cover is the Cubs were the hottest team in baseball coming into the postseason. And Pittsburgh was hot.
With the playoffs, they've won 12 out of the last 13 games, I think. Yeah. I think that's pretty good. I'm not a mathematician. I think you go 12-1. That's probably pretty good.
Let's go 20 out of 21, though. That would be.
Yeah, there's no reason to lose another game now. Just for my own sanity, I'd like you to keep winning.
So
To me, the best part of this is that because they're going to play either New York or LA, it's going to be the third biggest media market with either the first or second. We're done with the fucking 3 o'clock in the afternoon starts. As cool as it is to see Wrigley in the daytime,
that was really cool because that game started.
I basically haven't worked for the last 2 weeks because I just keep leaving. Like, that's right. I have horrible explosive diarrhea. I have to go home now.
So
I don't think anybody's buying it anymore. So now at least I don't have to use that as an excuse.
I in April went to Ireland right around like April 8th or April 9th, 10th, somewhere.
Did you go to Ireland, the country, or did you go to the little exhibit they have at Epcot? Because I've been there a few times. It's pretty nice.
I went to the country.
The Irish restaurant in Epcot has this huge picture of Bono, which it just cracks me up every time I see it. I'm like, you guys do know he's not actually the president of Ireland, right? He's a rock star. There's a difference.
Well, stars getting a little. So I went to Ireland. So I was desperately trying to finish my taxes. I'm self-employed, and they're not super complicated, but I always procrastinate to the last minute. So they feel super complicated on April 14th. So I realized I was stressing myself out. I'm like, I'm just going to file an extension. Got back from Ireland. I'm like, oh, great. I got 6 months to do it. If you're aware, it's procrastinator's tax day today. So I was not expecting. I thought the Cubs were going to win 85 games, have a nice little season, finish third in the Central. I was not expecting this. come August, come September, come October. So I had a lot of taxes to do last night, which I was up till 5 in the morning doing my taxes. That's why I'm celebrating now. I did get them done, but Cubs, just so you're aware, I forgot to write off my cell phone bill specifically because I've been wasting a lot of time actually writing about you and thinking about you and tweeting about you and watching you. So I appreciate it. I love it. And you guys owe me like whatever that ends up, maybe $50. I think I should get a free ticket to the NLCS is what I'm saying. I'm going to game. Well, as long as they split over the weekend, well, not as long as but if I hope the Cubs win both. If the Cubs win both, I'm going to game 3, probably. If they don't, if it's a split, I'm probably going to game 5, which I think will be a clinching game because I think the Cubs are taking it 5. I don't care who comes out of the Dodgers Mets series. I think it's going to be Cubs in 5.
So game 5 would be Lester again.
Probably.
Yeah, once again, the poor guy, Arrieta's going to go on normal rest, so he's going to pitch. Actually, he's getting an extra day, right? Because normal rest would have been Saturday. They're going to give Jake an extra day and not make John have an extra week or whatever it would be.
Right.
So the Cubs have to settle for the guy with the second lowest ERA in World Series history, pitching for them at the start of the NLCS.
Yeah.
If you have to slum it, that's a pretty good way to slum it.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
And John Lester was very good against the Cardinals. So shut up, whoever's trying to write the narrative that he's not worth his money. He was very good against the Cardinals.
Not worth his money. Doesn't he make like $2.5 million or something ridiculously low? I mean, he's certainly worth. I'm sure Gordon, thinks everybody's overpaid because just has to be a prick about everything.
Because he's underpaid.
Now, as far as taxes go, I don't know what you're talking about because I declared myself a nonprofit a long time ago. And I don't have to pay taxes. I just fill out some bullshit form, and I have my aunt is a nun, and she signs it, and I'm all good.
Wasn't that Dusty Baker's plan?
Mm-hmm. That's who I got the idea from. I think it's pretty much bulletproof, right? I mean, Dusty's fine. He's never had a run-in with the IRS.
I got to tell you, as enjoyable as this Cub run has been and the entire season has been, it is infuriating to see Dusty Baker employed by the MLB Network. Like, it is the funny thing is, infuriating.
He keeps picking the Cubs.
Does he?
The Cubs are going to win. I really like them. They're going to win. It's like, okay, thanks. We'd already had one of these goddamn World Series if you weren't a fucking idiot. This first would have been over a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we'd be like, well, it's the second time in 12 years they're going to win the World Series. That doesn't seem like that long a wait. But no, you had to screw that up, so we don't have that.
Hang on a second, though. Think about this. If he had won it in his first year as a Cub manager,
would he still be there?
He might still be the goddamn Cub manager. And what a disaster that would be. We might not have the Ricketts.
Yeah. Cubs have finished 4th for the last 9 years. But remember, Dusty won a World Series. He can stay as long as he wants.
Think of the cash cow that team would have been for the last dozen years, and maybe the Tribune doesn't sell them.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have, or if they did, they'd have sold them for more to God knows who.
Nazis. If we're doing revisionist history, they would have sold to the Nazis.
Yeah, I could see that. The Third Reich owning the Cubs. And here comes Pedro Stroh, contractually obligated to goose step in from the bullpen.
Here's Stroh. What if Stroh was goose stepping when Brian hit the walk-off home run? They wouldn't have had any of those guys.
I'll tell you what, if the Nazis owned the team, Brian Schlitter would still be on it. I guarantee you that.
And Stroh would not.
Yeah.
Oh boy, we're walking down a path.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't go.
Okay, so first of all, who do you think's going to come out? I hope it's the Dodgers, even though they're up 3-2. I still suspect it's
3-2 in the top of the 8th now.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean the Dodgers. I hope it's
looking like the Mets, but the Mets can still fuck this up because they're the Mets.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. I hope it's the Mets. It's not just because the Cubs went 7-0 against them or 6-0 or whatever it was against them. I hope it's the Mets. I'm still more scared of the Dodgers, even though the Cubs handled Greinke and handled Kershaw. I'm still more scared of the Dodgers in 7 games than I am of the Mets. Yeah, and I know the Mets had phenomenal pitching, but
did you see today that this morning Matt Harvey announced that he would be available out of the bullpen today, which is the biggest pile of bullshit ever. He's Matt Clement. He's not available. He won't go sit in the dugout in the bullpen. He just wanted to claim that he's available so people will get off his ass about the fact that he doesn't want to pitch in the playoffs because he's trying to rest his arm. He wants to cash in. It's like, if you're going to do that, just have the fucking balls to say, no, I just got this thing fully pitching once a series. Sorry. Because I need to make a shitload of money before I'm done. Yeah. But he doesn't have the balls to do that either. As soon as I saw that, I just laughed and said, what a transparent piece of shit that is.
Yeah.
I think the Cubs are better than either one of these teams.
I agree.
There's no guarantee you're going to beat them, but I think they're better than both. The plus for the Dodgers would be that because they had to pitch Kershaw on short rest 2 days ago, and then Greinke tonight, you would get game 1 would be Lester against probably Brett Anderson.
Yeah.
So you'd have a good chance of going up 1-0 before you have to face either Greinke or Kershaw. I think the best thing about the Yankees is I think that their offensive resurgence
are still in it.
I mean the Mets, but New York, whatever. There's a difference. I think the Mets' offensive resurgence at the end of the year was overblown.
Yeah, it was Cespedes.
I mean, Cespedes is a nice player, but he's not he's not Babe Ruth.
No, he's good.
I still don't think their offense is that good. And yes, their pitching is good, but except for Familia at the end, their bullpen's not very good.
Right.
And the Cubs wear out starters and get into your bullpen.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, they should beat both teams. Here's Jesse Rogers had a brilliant claim. Just think how dumb this. I mean, I know he's dumb. This was the dumbest. He said, "I think the Cubs should root for the Dodgers to win because they don't hit well in cold weather, and then you'd have 3 games in Los Angeles or 4 games in Los Angeles.
Wait, did the Dodgers?
And there'll all be night games in Los Angeles, and you can't hit the fucking ball out of that place with a goddamn cannon. Who gives a shit? And it's not January; it's October. It'll be okay."
Also,
he's like Jorge Soler doesn't hit very well in the cold. Do we really know that?
Shouldn't that cut the other way though? Even if that were his argument and it were actually factually accurate, then wouldn't you want the? Wait,
yes.
What?
You'd want it to be hard to hit because your team hits better than their team does.
Yeah.
It was the same like when people were freaked out that Game 3 the wind was blowing out. I was like, that's fine because I would rather have Arrieta pitching on a day when it's easy. The Cubs should have a huge advantage, and they did.
Yeah. Yeah, if anyone could keep the ball, could keep that game reasonable, and with the wind blowing out the way it was, Arrieta and probably Lester were about your only 2 options to keep that game within reach, and that's exactly what he did.
I would not. I don't want Kyle Hendricks pitching with the wind blowing 40 miles an hour to right field. That's a recipe for disaster.
God damn it, I love Kyle Hendricks so much, though.
Well, I do too. He's the guy who's going to give up fly balls.
Right.
They're going to keep going. But if it's Jake or Johnny,
I'm an unabashed.
who apparently has Eddie Vedder hangs out on his roof all the time. Who knew? Who knew that Eddie Vedder just hung out on John Lester's roof? That's pretty cool.
I'm an
who hangs out on my roof? Fucking
raccoons.
Yanni. No, Yanni and his goddamn pan flute, and I can't get him out. The good thing is he actually scares the raccoons away. I don't have raccoons because I have this Doug Henning lookalike playing the fucking pan flute on the roof of my house. And property values have never been worse. Thank you, Yanni. I send emails to Linda Evans. She won't come get him because apparently they're divorced. I don't know. How's that? You didn't think you get a Yanni reference, did you?
No, or a Linda Evans reference. Nice. So we should probably start wrapping this up because we're a little over an hour. We've been trying to keep these around an hour. But
although our viewership is way up, it's all the way to 14.
You haven't given us a pick.
It's 15.
I'm saying Cubs in 5. No matter who comes out. I do think the Dodgers are going to come out, even though I hope it's the Mets. I'm still saying Cubs in 5.
Mets in 4. I think it's over for the Cubs. I don't have any confidence in them anymore.
Oh my God!
I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like what I saw in the Cardinal series.
All right.
No. Yeah, I would say. I think it's Cubs in. I'd like to see 5 because it'd be fun to see them clinch another series at Wrigley.
And I will be there probably.
I think it'll be Cubs in 6.
That's cool.
And then in the American League, I
really hope it's the Royals.
I don't know what's going on with the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays aren't going to pitch David Price now until Game 2.
Yeah.
Because they burned him in relief, didn't have him for Game 5. I think Toronto's better than Kansas City, but I don't know that they're going to be Kansas City.
Yeah, that's a real talk. And I think the Cubs are better than both those teams too. But Toronto, for some reason, scares me more than Kansas City. But you know what? This is for next podcast. We have a championship series to get through. Let's not look ahead. Who's your pick to click? Yes.
I think my NLCS MVP is Javier Baez.
I would have gone with that, but I'm going to go a different route. I'm going to say Johnny Lester. I think Lester has 2 shutouts. I think he wins Game 1. Well, I mean, he probably doesn't go the whole way, but I don't think he gives up a run in this
Game
series.
1 and Game 5.
Game 1 and Game 5. I don't think he gives up a run. He goes at least 7.
I would have, I think it's probably established. Chris Bosio and Joe Madden are probably a little bit smarter than me about pitching. I would have flipped. I would have had Arrieta pitch Game 1 again.
Me too.
Because I feel like he could have pitched Game 1 and then Game 5, and then you could have used him in relief in Game. Like he could have
7.
Come riding in on a white horse like Madison Bumgarner in Game 7 if there was a Game 7.
I agree.
Where I don't think you would bring Lester back in Game 7
because
he looks like a guy who needs like an hour and a half to get ready to pitch. I think Arrieta, you basically hand him the ball in the dugout and he heads out and says, "Fuck it, I'll be ready." Don't worry.
I agree. I also think Lester, the biggest, if you have a knock on Lester, the biggest knock on Lester is that he takes an inning to get settled. If you're going to get to Lester, you're going to get to him in the first inning or second inning.
I think they didn't want Lester to have yet another day to wait, and I think they felt like. I forget what the other reason was. I had 2 reasons. I don't remember what the other one was.
I'll give you a second reason. Lester has a pretty good postseason record.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's pretty good in the postseason. So, and he was pretty good against the Cardinals.
If the strike zone hadn't been the size of, Colorado, he probably would have had a 2-1 lead going into the 8th. And after he gave up the 1 hit, he would have been out. Although Pedro probably would have come in and given up a home run. He pitched really well in Game 1. I mean, honestly, he probably outpitched the mouth breather, but for whatever reason, Lackey. And what is the deal with him licking his hand from like the wrist to the fingertips between every? It was just. I know it's apparently legal now because you're allowed on the rubber to do that. It's just disgusting.
I keep waiting for him to start cleaning.
He's like the world's biggest hairless cat. He's just lubing up his hands and just rubbing them all over himself.
And for the people who are freaking out about your last comment, all 14 of you, yes, the strike zone was better than we think it was. That's born out. If you believe
we know the TBS, their little thing.
Theirs was horrible, but
I don't think there's any question that Lackey had a bigger strike zone than Lester did.
I agree. If you and certain people in the Cub blogosphere will argue with me, But
all right. Well, can I? It's late, so I can say whatever I want. The two of our more prominent Chicago bloggers who tweet, Super Dave Sharma, whatever you say his first name, and Brett Taylor, never actually say anything. I mean, can I just say that they tweet a lot, and they qualify everything. Well, it might be this or it might be this. Have a fucking just take a stand on something once, please.
Like, say Soler is going to go off before the DS. No, I will say this though. It's just if you look, I think it was they used the StatCast or whatever those cameras are. 6 Cubs were called out on strikes on balls out of the zone, and only 2 Cardinals were. So
I said 4 of the 6 Cub called strikes should have been balls.
Yeah.
4 of the 6 called Cub strikeouts. Strike 3 should have been a ball.
Oh, that's what it was. I thought it was 6 total.
And neither of the Cardinals had 2 called strikes, and both of those were strikes.
Okay. So that's what. Oh, so it was okay. So like a 6 thing sway or whatever. Okay. So it was. Somebody argued with me that it was consistent, and I argued that, and I feel like the stats bore me out. So fuck you, whoever argues with me.
Yeah, I know we're supposed to be wrapping this up, but I need to make another point.
No. It's not like
one of the more impressive things I thought Joe did, because I wouldn't have done this. But
I'm sorry, Joe who?
Joe Mama, Joe Madden. He's the manager of the Chicago Cubs.
I thought you meant Country Joe West.
Well, I wish he hasn't gotten a playoff. I'm sure they're saving him for the World Series.
Well, fuck me. Go on.
Was after you saw Pedro pitching Game 1, would anybody have let him pitch against the Cardinals again?
Totally. No way.
So he did make a concession. He had T-Bone, our buddy, the Pillsbury outboy, Trevor Cahill. He pitched the 8th inning of Game 2, in St. Louis. But then at 3 and 4, Joe's like, fuck it. Pedro's supposed to pitch the 8th, and he's got to get these guys out. Yeah. And he was pretty good in Game 3. In Game 4, he was fucking awesome. Yep. They weren't going to hit him. He dominated the Cardinals. It was great to see. Plus the fact that just an inning before, the Cardinal fans got all pissed off because Fernando Rodney had his hat on crooked. Say that. And then he did, for the first time as a Cub, and you could tell on his way off, he said, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. He did the arrow thing on his way off the field. So that got him all pissed off. And then you bring in the other guy with the fucked up hat, and he completely plows through your lineup.
I was just about to say that. The place went bananas when Rodney shot the arrow into the air. It was so fucking cool. It was a perfect moment for him. I love that he picked. I mean, I do a fair amount of comedy, and you have to pick. You definitely have to pick your spots, I bet he had that in the back of his mind the entire time he's been a Cub so far. And he's like, fuck it, I'm going to use it when it's such a huge moment. It was so cool. It was so gratifying. And like, for you guys that are pissed about that and pissed about Batista's bat flip, like, the MLB is in no danger of becoming the WWE. Like, it's not even in danger of becoming the NFL. So have some fucking fun. Like, we're watching this because it's a sport that we love and it's exciting. And I like the helmet rub. So, there are some baseball purists that probably think the helmet rub is showing people up. It's fun, and this should be fun. And the reason the Cubs are where they are, well, the reason they are where they are is because they're talented. They're a really well constructed team. But I think we've talked about it all season long. You and I have, that this team is far too dumb to know they're playing loose largely because of Madden, and they always say that a club takes on the attitude of its manager, and they could not have found a more perfect. I don't know if he's the best manager in baseball. I personally think he is, but he's the best person on the planet to lead this club.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that, like, in the thing I wrote that everyone should read because it was so good.
It was very good. It was very, very good.
Oh, that's nice. They would have been good this year, even if they still had Ricky, but they wouldn't be this good.
They would have been 85 wins good, which is great.
And we would have thought it was awesome. We would have been, holy crap, look how good they are.
I would have been thrilled.
The thing I think Jock does better than anybody is it seems like players come to the Cubs and they are immediately comfortable. Like, you know what your role is. All you have to do is do it. The rest of the bullshit that other teams like, rookie Schwarber basically said it, and he had one of the most unbelievable post games interviews of all time. The first thing, he comes in, he's late, and he comes waddling into the set, and he like sits down on his chair, and the whole podium like shakes when he sits down. And then they ask him about it, and he says, the best thing about this team is you get called up as a rookie, and they just let you play baseball. There's none of this bullshit. Phil Nevin isn't screaming at you all the time because you're a rookie and wants you to carry shit around the clubhouse for him and go get coffee and all that bullshit. Basically, their attitude is, we need you to win games, so we're going to make you comfortable and just come in here and do that. He's unbelievable at handling a bullpen. I mean, Bazio obviously is a huge part of that. Yeah. But, I mean, Joe basically... what he said during the broadcast, you wouldn't have seen it because you were at the game, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Yeah, I was probably celebrating with
he felt like
Ricketts.
The bullpen, maybe the great Brian Anderson who said this, because Hamill didn't make it through the fourth, right? He got pulled in the fourth, I think.
Yeah.
The bullpen was an inning behind. Joe had it all planned out for Hamill to go 4, and then they were going to go from that. Well, it was behind. They were having to make up for a full inning, and he still managed to get everybody through it. He probably went one batter longer with Cahill than he wanted because he wasn't ready to yank him yet. But just the fact that, if you look at the games they won, Lester pitched really well and they lost. Arrieta didn't pitch that great, but he pitched okay and they won. The Cardinals sure had to kick themselves. They lost the series
that day.
When it's not so bad that they didn't beat Kyle Hendricks because their defense imploded. But when when Jake wasn't good and they didn't win, they were fucked.
Yep.
So they win a game when Hendricks doesn't get to the 5th and when Hamill doesn't get through the 4th. I mean, when was the last Cub manager that could have somehow navigated that? Dusty would have stood there and shit his pants. He wouldn't have had a clue what to do. He would have just left Hamill out there and said, "Dude, my starting pitcher's got to go 5 innings, dude." Yeah. And so it would have been, 8-4 by the time they took Hamill out.
Joe can improvise. Like, look at what he's dealt with. I mean, do you think Dusty Baker would have ever started Chris Bryant in center field because he's not short and old and black?
Dusty had defined roles for everybody, and it wasn't even based on the player. It was based on the type of player. Right. Like, my center fielder has to lead off, no matter who he is, and my second baseman has to bat second. It's just the dumbest shit. Joe, none of that crosses Joe's mind.
Totally.
It's all about putting the player in the best possible position for them to actually succeed.
And I know we're getting on here again, but you brought up his name, so I was shocked to see this. Phil Nevin is getting manager consideration. Why?
I think it's been long enough that I can say this. In 2007, I think, my wife and I went to. My wife's family lives in Phoenix. We went out to Phoenix in the springtime, and I emailed Len Casper and said, "Hey, let's go to dinner." So the three of us go to dinner. Yeah, me and my wife and Len Casper. My wife, she knows so much about baseball. This is what she asked Len. The one.
How do you know Andy?
No, yeah. How do you know? Have you guys met? She says, but she asked a great question. She didn't know she was asking a great question. She said, "Has there been anybody in baseball that you just really hate?"
Ha!
And he looks at me and he says, "You can't tell anybody what I answered." And
Wait a minute. No, well, obviously we all know the punchline to this, but are you comfortable?
It's been 8 years. I can say it. And Len says, honestly, he said, of all the years with the Brewers and with the Cubs, there's really only one person that I just can't stand. It's Phil.
Marlins.
Was he the Marlins? That's right. Yeah, the Marlins, the Brewers, the Cubs, the Brewers, the Cubs, the Marlins, and the Brewers. And he says, the only person I really can't stand was Phil Nevin. And this is Len. This is a guy who can get along with, I think, probably anybody in the world. Yeah. And he just thought Phil Nevin was the biggest asshole he'd ever met. And now there's all these teams just tripping over their dicks to try to hire Phil Nevin to be their manager. I guarantee you it's going to be a disaster.
To give you an idea of what a kind soul Len Casper is, the first time I met him, I was a little bit starstruck, to be honest with you. Like, I wasn't sort of, I sort of knew Paul Sullivan, our good friend Paul Sullivan, and but I was a little starstruck. He was new to the Cubs, and I was a little bit drunk. We were at the Cubs convention, and I asked him, well, it was early in the night. I asked him a series of what had to have been the stupidest questions on the planet, and this is a man that can interview Kelly Pickler without making people literally stop watching TV forever.
That's one of the great seventh inning stretch interviews.
Oh my God. So like he must have just been like, and I could sense in the back of my mind, I'm like, there is another dumb question. And like Len was such a gracious, like he would just answer each progressively more idiotic question with just a very calmness, just a very friendly welcomingness, probably looking for the exits. But yeah, if you can't get along with Len Casper, that's on you.
Yeah. Well, here's what a good guy he is. Well, we hadn't even met yet. We'd only emailed back and forth, and it was a Cub convention. And I said, "Hey," I said, we'll all be in shitty OKs after the stupid opening ceremonies. If you'd like, I'd like to buy you a beer. That'd be fun. So he said, "Sure." He said, "I'll be in there. You know what I look like. Come find me." And so I'm there with my dad, and I lost Dad in shitty OKs somehow. But I find Len, and so I'm talking to him, and I said, "I need to go find my dad." Because I want him to meet you before we leave, and so if I'm an asshole, so if things were reversed, I would have been like, yeah, that's fine, I'll be here, bring your dad to me. And Lon's like, well, let's go find him. So the two of us are wandering around the bar trying to find him, and my dad just kind of looks at him like, oh, I think I know, that's got to be Len Casper. And so Len sees him before I do, and he's like, hey, are you Andy's dad? And he's like, yeah. And they met each other before I could introduce them. He couldn't have been nicer. And so, we talked to him for 15 or 20 minutes, and then he's got better things to do than talk to a couple of dopes from, the sticks. And that's all they had talked about. The whole next day and the whole trip home was what a great guy Len Casper was and how cool it was to meet him. And, it took Len an extra 2 minutes to do that as opposed to what a normal person would do. And my dad just thought he was the coolest guy ever. So they have him and Pat, and now Jim DeShays, and
I love DeShays.
They're in. The Cubs are in pretty good hands as far as people, and the fact that right now on radio they get, Len gets the fifth inning, so Coomer doesn't have to do that anymore. And then in Game 3, he got some pretty big home runs to call. I mean, that was pretty cool because you feel bad for the TV guy because when the playoffs start, he's done. Well, the Cubs have managed to find a spot for Len, to do cool stuff, once the regular season's over.
Now, I don't want to take anything away from Len because he's a sweetheart, but are you sure he wasn't just trying to get away from me when he offered to?
Yeah, he might have been. He's like, let's go find your dad or any other
or anyone else.
Not this guy. What the fuck is with this guy?
Okay.
Like, he goes, I think he went to Notre Dame, and the reason I think that is because within the first 30 seconds of the conversation, he told me he went to Notre Dame.
Oh, very good. Very good. I've heard that joke.
Len went to Marquette. So.
Yes, I know. I applied to Marquette for undergrad and for law school.
He's no fan of yours. Couldn't get in, so you had to go to Notre Dame.
Man.
You couldn't get in Northern, so you had to go to Notre Dame. Is that how that works?
That is.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, guys. Guys, it's just you.
All right. So that was
tidy.
She's asleep now. Oh, Beezy's awake. Hey, Beez. With her ever-present tennis ball that never is more than 2 feet away from her at any one time.
If the Cubs win the World Series, can you rename Beasley to a Cub-related name?
No, I think she's stuck. But she does. She always wears a Cub. What do you call it? Her collar is a Chicago Cub collar.
All right.
And in the winter, she wears a Cub T-shirt, which is my wife likes to put clothes on dogs. Yeah. So I got her a Cub one.
Very good. Andy, I hope we do.
No, she won't be renamed. But just think, if we do another one of these, it means the Cubs are in the World Series.
What if we do 2 more of them?
Well, that would be pretty cool if we do the wrap-up. I think, for me, obviously I want them to win the World Series. But if I die without them ever being in one, I think I will have felt I failed as a fan. I need to see them. There needs to be a World Series game in my lifetime at Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
I think I think they're going to do it right now, which would be pretty goddamn cool.
I agree. But that will be insanity, though. Like I'm repeating myself a million times, but they're so far ahead of where they should be right now. If they win the goddamn World Series, like, I don't even know if I'll watch them next year. I'm just gonna be like, oh my god, we can't beat that. Like, this is whatever.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'll watch them. I don't know that I'll wear pants at all when I watch them. Part of me thinks that this is they almost need to win it this year, because this is the year that there's, for whatever, they've somehow managed to make it this far without the extra bullshit pressure of, you're only starting to hear it now. Well, they haven't won a World Series in 107 years. They haven't done this, blah, 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 blah. They've somehow won 97 games without any of that shit, because they surprised everybody so much. They don't carry any of that extra baggage that every other Cub playoff team has carried since, well, they haven't had that many. And so if they can just somehow get through this and win it, they will manage to win the World Series without having any of that extra shit on them. Where, say they lose to let's say it's going to be the Mets. Say they lose to the Mets in 6 or 7 games.
Yeah.
From the minute the season ends until spring training, it's all about what are they going to do to make, they need to win one more game. They need to do whatever. It'll never be, it's still going to be good. I mean, this team has too many cool guys on it, and they're too good, but they'll never be quite like this. And so you almost hope, just plow through it right now before anybody is any the wiser that you're good. Win the goddamn World Series, and you never have to deal with that shit again. Now you're just another really good team that's trying to win more World Series. Yeah. And for all the people out there who are selfishly like, oh, I don't know. There was like the asshole caller to the Score the other day who said, I don't want him to win the World Series this year. Maybe if they could just get to the World Series next year and then win it the year after that. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Win the goddamn thing. The Cardinals have won 12 of the goddamn things. We've got to win the next 10 in a row, which I think we're going to, just to tie those motherfuckers. Yeah. And the whole idea is to be better than they are. So we got to get on the fucking stick. We wasted a century. It's time to stop with this bullshit and just keep winning.
Yeah, and piggybacking on that, Cubs, I'm talking to you directly right now. I should have done my taxes in May, but instead I had to stay up. So, just do it, strike while the iron's hot, do it right off the bat, and then next year I'll get everything organized and all my taxes done in March.
Yeah, that's a good life lesson from you for the Cubs. Don't procrastinate.
Also, you guys, do your taxes, because Dusty Baker taught us the government will come after you.
That's the only thing that stops them. Say next year, they find out Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant are going to jail for tax evasion.
That's how they got Capone. That's
right. That's how our all-star corner infielders are gone. And then next year on opening day, we've got Chris Coughlin and Tommy Lestella. Back. It's not quite. Well, that would be all right.
Okay. On that note, I wanted to get one last Valbuena reference in there. Thank you all for listening. We really want to do 2 more of these.
Yeah, we got.
I don't even want to think ahead. I cannot wait. See you all on Twitter on Saturday.
Yep, it's gonna be exciting. It's I don't think even the most optimistic of us didn't really think this was gonna happen this soon. Nope. So
I thought 85 wins was the most optimistic. Whatever. I'm an idiot. But follow Andy at decipio.com, all spelled out, on Twitter, and follow me on @HigherJamessian.
Yep. All right. See you on the interwebs.
Bye, Dolan.
Go Cubs.
Yay.